Hello everybody and welcome to the Pure Liberal Challenge. This is the second part of a long commentary on the war on Islam. This is also the 6th anniversary of 9/11, so I think this is appropriate. In attempting to fairly judge and accurately evaluate the relative merits of the ideology and philosophy of Islam, it's very helpful to remember its roots. That means where and when it came from. Islam was the product of the backward place of savage, desolate Arabia in the primitive Dark Age time of the medieval period. The ideology and philosophy of the Christians and Jews, in contrast, was the product of the reason-based, scientific, civilized, advanced, and noble West and the rational, liberal, Hellenistic era. A religion and thought system of Dark Age, nomadic, desert Arab tribes doesn't compare to the religions and thought systems largely derived from the uplifted, heroic, high-culture Greeks and Romans. Moreover, the still pretty evil god worship of Europeans was vastly humanized, civilized, and improved by the Reformation and the Enlightenment. This contrasts vividly with the unchanged, unimproved, wholly evil religion of the Arabs. Moses and Jesus were, to be sure, terrible people advocating a terrible belief system and lifestyle. But Muhammad, misery and torture be upon him, was on a whole other level. His God needs to be obliterated. Today's version of Islam just needs to die. That's it. And, if necessary, all the active supporting Muslims with it. At the least, a new Islam needs to emerge, a Western liberal Islam, if that's even possible. An Islam wherein you can look at the majority of its adherents anywhere in the world and say, in effect, there goes a typical Republican. There goes a standard Democrat. You can't remotely say that now. Virtually all Muslims today are jihadist and Shariaist. They effectively love war and slavery. There's virtually no Muslims anywhere in the world that can honestly say they oppose normal-type Muslim propagation, that means jihad, and normal-type Muslim law, that means Sharia. There's virtually no Muslim anywhere in the world that can honestly be called a Western liberal. For those who don't believe this, name one. And lest there be any doubt about it, normal Muslims relish the thought of 9/11. It was practically the best day of their lives. They only wish it could happen again and over, except even worse. Such is mainstream Islam today. What is desperately needed in the post-9/11 WMD era are anti-Muslim Muslims. Something rather like lapsed Catholics or non-practicing Jews. We need assimilated Muslims who have adopted the ways of Westernism. For every other originally opposing ideological group on earth, and this includes exotic Buddhists, quietly strange Confucians, old-time Nazis, and radical communists, this assimilation and adoption into the West proved easy. They came to the West, changed somewhat, and then fit right in, but not Muslims. The reality of today is the vast majority of all Muslims, whether in the West or Islamdom, consider Osama and Ahmadinejad to be folk heroes. The vast majority sympathize with or actively support all those multifarious suicide bombings and mass murder atrocities everywhere on earth. For them, today, 9/11 is a day of celebration, and they pray for a nuclear holocaust in the capital of the world, New York City. This last, unfortunately, is something that the Muslims probably will make happen. Such is Islam. Such is the stunning and unprecedented moral depravity of Muslims, and all their loves and fervent goals represent the attitudes and beliefs of both today's version of Islam and 1400-year-old traditional Islam. Muslims love death, yours, theirs, and ours. This wantonly depraved belief is precisely what needs to be mercilessly and utterly destroyed. The West needs to declare war on Islam itself. America needs to declare war not just on Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, but on Hezbollah, Hamas, Fatah, the Muslim Brotherhood, Islamic Jihad, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, Al-Gama al-Islamiyah, Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam, and all the rest. We need to name names and publicly, explicitly, loudly, proudly target them for extinction. Now, it's true that the West should focus on the formal and informal soldiers and the ideological warriors initially and primarily. Those Muslims with guns and bombs and maps and videos should indeed be attacked first. They really are terrorists and mass murderers in their tactics and behavior, and thus they are more immediately dangerous to the West. But the main enemy is Islam itself. Standard, typical, average, normal, mainstream, moderate Muslims provide the terrorists with most of their moral and financial support. And standard, moderate Muslim governments, all of which need to be rapidly and violently overthrown, provide most of their safe harbors, military training, and political direction. But Islam itself is the enemy. So, death to Islam. Death to this loathsome, wretched, hideous ideology and belief system. It's time for the West and everybody good on earth to finally and at long last passionately, morally denounce it and openly, viscerally revile it. Enough already with this why do they hate us, sissiness, introspection, and inappropriate self-criticism. It's time to ask, why don't we hate them? We certainly should. And if we truly wish to live and thrive, we must. Muslims deserve such heartfelt hatred. They're practically openly begging for it. And this will actually benefit them. Just as it helps us socially to hate them, it'll liberate them personally. They have virtually no other opportunity to escape their ideology's fell clutches. This is their only chance. True moral judgment and just loathing heaped upon Muslims and Islam will be almost like a benediction to them, ultimately. It's their best chance. So, death to Islam. It's time to locate and then slaughter all the active jihadists and sharias worldwide, and all those who actively support them. Let's win the war on moderate Islam. No more religious ecumenicalism and multicultural tolerance when it comes to moderate Muslims. Islam is evil. Muslims are monsters. Death to Islam.